sometimes if you're starting your new business, you should start with something that's easier, that you shouldn't be trying to do something so big and crazy, and it might not end up working out in the end if it's going to take a ton of money and a ton of effort. That if there's something more that you can start on that's a little bit simpler just to, launch a business, then I think that's definitely a good route, because if you are an entrepreneur in spirit, then you're probably going to start many businesses. But if you start with something that's much easier, that doesn't take as much capital, then you can just launch that much quicker.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lunid, and today I have the honor of introducing a very special guest to the show, Tiffany Gil. Tiffany is an entrepreneur and inventor who created the viral company Shezza Socks, foam padded socks to prevent painful blisters. And this came from a personal experience because a few years ago she got horrible blisters on the back of her heels from wearing her favorite Doc Marten boots. And she was not satisfied with any of the results that were on the market and any of the solutions. And so she decided to make her own socks with back padding thick enough to protect against blisters from any type of shoes. Now, she is well versed in digital marketing, viral content, and that explains why her company has gained over 90 million views worldwide. So it's as well as a physical product, a media company as well. So I'm really excited to have her on here. We actually met here in San Diego at San Diego Startup, and I was just so taken by her expertise and her growth within the company and her leadership that I approached her to have this chat to kind of bring in some of the insight here to us, to the audience. So with no further ado, Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. This is actually my first podcast.
Yay! Welcome on board. It's quite simple. We just love talking about your expertise on here. We'll talk about your morning routine, kind of like what helps you get up, dress up, and show up, right? To be the boss, to run a business, to run a company, and to be such a young entrepreneur at that. So let's start off with how this all began, because I know it started a few years ago with you in school. And so tell us about your journey so far. How'd you get here?
Right. So my journey for starting my company actually started in high school. So I was 15 years old. I asked my dad for Christmas, Dad, I really want this pair of leather Doc Marten boots. They're just the coolest shoes you could ever have the last few years. And they're just really trendy and everyone's wearing them. Yeah. So my dad got them for me for Christmas, and I was just ecstatic. I was like, these are the coolest things I think I've ever had in my life. And I wore them to school, and I ended up getting really terrible bloody blisters on the back of my heels. And that didn't just happen the first time I wore them. It happened every single time. I would have bruises around my feet, and these shoes that I so desperately wanted to wear, I was just never able to wear. So it kind of got me thinking, okay, I'm getting these really bad, painful blisters on the back of my heel. How can I solve this? So I went to look online. All the solutions on there said, oh, just put Band-Aids on every time you wear them. Wear 2 pairs of socks every time you wear your boots. And I just thought all those solutions were so silly. So I tried to come up with a solution, and because I really wanted to wear them so bad. So I took a sewing class at my local community college while I was in high school, and I found a little foam padding that you can use for, it's kind of like wetsuit material. It's called neoprene. And it's nice and cushy and soft. And I thought, hey, what if I put that on the back of a sock? There's nothing out there like it. So in my sewing class, I sewed it onto the very back of this little grungy old sock. And from then on, I never got a blister again with this little prototype that I had. And then nothing really happened until I went to San Diego State, where I was in an entrepreneurship program where they guided us into hey, what do you need to start a business? Well, first you need to talk to your potential audience. You need to see if there's people actually willing to buy and pay for your product, how big is the market, etc. That I got all the resources I needed to turn this little idea of mine when I was a high schooler into a
Mm-hmm.
real business. And that's taken over 10 years in the making of me kind of thinking about it in the back of my mind, but not really knowing how to launch a business,
Mm-hmm.
to having the resources to officially launch the business. And the business has been launched for almost a year and a half, and now we've reached over 90 million views across Instagram, TikTok, etc. So it's just very exciting to see where I've come from.
Yeah, it's in a long time coming, right there. There's a saying
Mm-hmm.
it takes a bamboo will sprout, like overnight, but it takes years on the ground for it to grow and build and mature.
Exactly.
And that's similar to what your story is. And it's a great story. It's coming from a personal experience, and then you created a need that the market needs, and you went viral very quickly too, under a year. So we want to hear about that later on. But
Mm-hmm.
what inspired you to venture into entrepreneurship at such a young age? Because we probably grew up watching parents work 9 to 5 job, but for you, you had a total different mindset, even like being in your grad school, your grad program,
Mm-hmm.
undergrad program.
Yes. What inspired me to venture into entrepreneurship at an early age was actually my parents. So my
Mm-hmm.
dad, he has his own auto body shop. And
Mm-hmm.
then my mom, she used to have her own barber shop. And growing up, I'd go to work with them all the time. And I saw that they worked really, really hard. However, they were the boss and they were the ones to call the shots. And I thought, that
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. I want to be the boss. I want to create whatever I want to create, do whatever I think is best for the business. So it stemmed from my parents. And ever since I was young, I was just always trying to find a way to make money all on my own. So when I was young, I was in first grade and I had a bunch of guppies at home in my fish tank. And I would sell the guppies in first grade to all my classmates. And with that money that I gained from selling my guppies, I would be able to buy myself ice cream. And I thought that was just the coolest thing ever as a
Yeah.
6-year-old. And then going into elementary school and middle school, I would have lemonade stands every summer for the 4th of July when there was a lot of people out and about. And as a
Mm-hmm.
little kid, I would actually make a lot of money, and just being able to earn money from something that I did all on my own was the most exciting thing ever. And that's what led me to want to go into business and having a
Yeah.
business of my own.
Such a huge achievement at a young age, right? Just being able to manifest it and see the money comes through and learning the steps. It's very it's like school learning business really hands on at those primal
Mm-hmm.
young ages. So tell us about Shazaz and what makes them super unique, because I don't believe there's anything like it out on the market yet. And so you're kind of like pioneering this road path right now. Tell us what makes it unique in terms of how do you see it growing too?
Yeah. So the sock industry hasn't really changed for
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
So what we're doing is we're doing something a little different. We have a sock that has a little foam cushion sewn
Hmm.
into the back of the heel of the sock, where a lot of people tend to get blisters from new shoes, breaking in shoes, playing sports.
Yeah.
And the little foam cushion in the back of the sock provides a big enough barrier in between the back of your heel and your shoe so that you won't get blisters.
Hmm.
So it's that foam technology that we have that makes it a lot different. And then other than that, it's just a really durable, high quality sock. It's sweat proof. It has arch compression. It has a reinforced toe that makes sure that you never get your big toe through the
Yeah.
your sock. And yeah, it'll just last you years.
Nice. And I can see this, we can talk about audience right now, but I can see this utilized in construction as well, because those heavy toe boots,
Mhm.
firefighters, I can see the need for it across different markets. What do you see?
Absolutely. There's many different markets that could use this. So we first started off with the kind of young fashionista trendy audience
Hmm.
because that's the way we were able to reach them quickest is through
Yeah.
TikTok and Instagram and by going viral because they're the ones that are on social media all the time. And we've had a lot of success with that because they are the people that are changing shoes often. They have a big shoe collection. They wear, Doc Marten boots. They're really heavy and kind of hard to break in. So there's that. And then I think in the future, we're going to expand into sports,
Mm-hmm.
construction, military, because those are all people that definitely need it as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's the market's just what opens up for you because they're socks. We all wear socks. We all need
Hmm.
keep our toes warm and protected from the leather of our shoes.
Right.
For you said you talked about TikTok, but you really have a great strategy for going viral, getting influencers intact, and that's how you've been able to get 90 million views worldwide in under a year. So let's talk a little bit about your tactics to gain influencers and how they can help you help other businesses go viral.
Yes. So I would say our marketing is a combination of influencers, as you mentioned, and then just viral content and posting content all the time on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and Pinterest, spreading our content across everything. So whatever
Mm-hmm.
we post on either on TikTok or Instagram to start with, we spread it across all platforms just to get the biggest reach. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's interesting because you never know what platform something might really take off on. For example, we've had videos on TikTok, they would maybe get 1,000 views. And then we post the same exact video on Instagram, same exact caption, hashtags, everything. And that video will get millions and millions of views.
Mm-hmm.
So we post everything across all platforms. And then within our videos too, I say we because it's myself and then I have about 4 student interns that just
Mm-hmm.
constantly post content. And I use college students because they're the ones that are always on
Right.
TikTok, Instagram, and they know the trends. So we tend to keep our videos really short. We use keywords within our videos. So, for example, the keywords I might use are um, winter boots or fall fashion, socks for Doc Martens, and I'll get those when I'm creating a video within the Instagram Reels or TikTok. I will get those words and I will write them and I will hide them. I'll make them really small and I'll hide them in the top upper corner
Mm.
to show up for search engines. And that's how
Yeah.
we've actually been able to show up for Google, in the search bar, on TikTok, on Instagram. And then just keeping the content short, funny, relatable, just trying to hop on trends. And that's why I have so many social media managers that are always scouting for the next trend to hop on.
Mm-hmm.
And then working with influencers as well. We've had influencers contribute to over, I would say, about 20 million views
Wow. Yeah.
um, across Instagram and TikTok. So luckily for us, it's pretty easy for us to find fashion influencers. That's a very common
Mm-hmm.
um, type of influencer that's on Instagram or TikTok. So just partnering with them and people who wear Doc Martens because that's one of the biggest demographics.
Yeah, knowing your market, you've done the market research, knowing who to target, and the tactics for getting the search engine SEO piece of it really is quite instrumental in this piece.
Mhm.
So, how else are you leveraging technology to run the business? I know you're using social media and you have a marketing team to kind of run those. How else has technology made your life a lot easier to operate?
Right. So I'm all about automation and delegation. And it's kind of interesting because all of last year, I was traveling as a digital nomad for, I would say, 7 to 8 months out of the whole year, all while running my business. And I would say that's because I was able to automate and delegate a lot. So I always have a large team of interns, about probably 8 interns every semester. I have my full-time employee. I have virtual assistants in the Philippines. So just utilizing people to really just help us get everything that we need to get done. And then technology, I use ChatGPT every single day, and they have so many amazing tools now, especially with the Chat 4, and you can
Yeah.
use Bing there. for free. Instead of having to pay for ChatGPT, you can use the Bing chat, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the same exact thing, but it's free. So I
Mm-hmm.
use that a lot. And just trying to stay organized with Asana boards and knowing who's doing what tasks.
Yeah, that's gonna be my follow up is how do you manage all that, right? It's nice to have a team because you can kind of farm off some of the work, but then there's another you got to manage those individuals and ensuring
Mm-hmm.
that they're using. So Asana is one of the big ones that a lot of entrepreneurs use to kind of keep track on who's doing what and what needs to be delivered. So it's quite helpful that there's a need to automate and delegate because you as an entrepreneur got to work on the business, not so much in the business, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So, tell us about you've had a great run, and you're very successful. I'm really fascinated with your success. Any significant failures, or like people, successful entrepreneurs would like to say it's failing forward, right? Like, what are some of the things that failures that kind of were a lesson, to kind of get to the next level?
Hmm. Absolutely. So Shezza, it isn't my first startup. I originally started with another startup when I went to San Diego State University. I had this idea for it. Basically, the company that is doing it now is called neighbor.com, basically where you can rent out space in your home
Hmm.
for somebody to put storage in it. So that was kind of my idea, or to, park your car in it in really busy cities.
Hmm.
Um, but with that, there was already a competitor that was pretty large in the space, neighbor.com. And then it would have also cost me I would have had to raise a lot of capital for it to work out. Whereas with Shezza, in creating this product, I started this business with probably less than 5 grand. And I
Hmm.
was able to order inventory and, do minimal marketing, spend pretty much nothing on marketing for this to
Hmm.
kind of initially take off. So, from working on the other startup that I had that I you know, didn't launch, it taught me that I don't really like technology as much as physical products.
Hmm.
And yeah, and that sometimes if you're starting your new business, you should start with something that's easier, that you
Yeah.
shouldn't be trying to do something so big and crazy, and it might not end up working out in the end if it's going to take a ton of money and a ton of effort. That if there's something more that you can start on that's a little bit simpler just to, launch a business, then I think that's definitely a good route, because if you are an entrepreneur in spirit, then you're probably going to start many businesses. But if you start with something that's much easier, that doesn't take as much capital, then you can just launch that much quicker.
Well
So,
put.
and then also just working for other internships, other companies, just realizing that I I always wanted to be the leader. So, like in other internships or jobs, it kind of I never really liked to follow the role of other people, and I was always very, very independent. And I value freedom so much that that's just what always led me to want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, well put. I concur 100%. Seeking that freedom, that time freedom to, and then be the calling the shots, similar to your parents. You've had it ingrained, embedded in you from young, and having watched your parents, it's the autonomy that comes with it that gives you the thrill. And you said something quite important, and I think it resonates a lot. That as an entrepreneur, you're always going to continue to build. You're always going to want to start a new business. So why not start with a path of least resistance, right? Start with
Mm-hmm.
something that's a lot easier to get off the ground, get some market research, um, get some feedback from your customers, and then that gets some sales, and then eventually you can grow to other products, to scale, to more bigger and better ideas. And I'm sure by that time you'll have better networks. You'll have more
Mm-hmm.
people, especially when it comes to raising money and investing. So with your current company, you didn't have to do a funding round or anything. You bootstrapped it to bring it to what it is.
Yes, bootstrapped it, and a lot of that. a lot of success came from the San Diego State Zip Launchpad. It's an entrepreneurship program there that I was able to receive over $7,000 in funding. So that helped significantly. And then one other interesting thing about me is that I did a cross country lawnmower race where it was a race for a cash prize from California to Florida on 5 mile per hour lawnmowers. It was a
Wow.
web series. And it was against 10 different contestants. I was teamed up randomly with someone named Katie from South Dakota, and we actually won the entire race against all the other contestants. And from that, I won over $30,000. And that's also what helped me launch the business as well and use towards buying inventory, samples, marketing, etc.
Wow, that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Lawnmower from California to Florida
Yep. Yep. So
on
it took two
roads,
and a
on
half months.
physical roads.
Yes. We went all throughout the US, took 2.5 months. And the really crazy part about it is that we were not able to use our own credit cards or our own money. The whole time we had to just basically ask strangers for help. And the whole show was about showing America's kindness and showing that, people along the way, how they helped us to get to the other side during this really crazy adventure.
That is fantastic. Congratulations. And that helped launch your own business. That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Uh,
Yeah.
Tell us about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
Right. So my morning is probably a lot different than your other people that you've brought on. So I don't necessarily wake up super early. I'm definitely not a early riser, and I haven't been all my life. I would probably wake up in between like 9:30. My morning routine, I don't immediately like to just jump and start working right away. I like to kind of have a slow morning. I like to have coffee. I like
Mhm.
to make a nice nutritious breakfast and kind of get into my day slowly. And then I'll start work and I'll plan out my day. I use my passion planner.
Mhm.
I've been using the passion planner for probably over 5 years now, and I like to write out my entire day, my entire schedule. Um, what else do I do? I always make sure to go to the gym. Sometimes I like to go midday at night. I usually take a class because whenever I go to the gym, I get there and I'm like, I don't know what machines to use. I don't know what I should do. So I like to take a class because I go into the class, there's an
Yeah.
instructor, and after an hour it's done and then I can leave. So, and I like to take Zumba classes or like body pump classes. So something that's kind of fun for me. So it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like working out.
Yeah, they gotta move the body, right? It's gotta stay healthy
Hmm.
to be as busy as you are, because it will take a toll. Sooner or later,
Yeah.
if you don't take care of the body and add movement in there, it does give energy. And I like the notion of you don't have to start as early as 5 a.m., 4 a.m., but when you do wake up, it's the things that you do to prime you for the rest of the day. With you, it's the passion planner, making sure you see your goals, you outline what you're going to be working on. So you relieve yourself of decision fatigue, essentially, so you don't have to think twice about what's coming. And then that slow, progressive into your day calms the mind, really. Um,
Hmm.
for you. So those things are important. Any type of meditation, anything to kind of how do you feed your mind in terms of either podcast stimulation, books? What kind of books are you reading? Meditation. What do you have?
Yes. So I do like to listen to books whenever I drive. I love
Mm-hmm.
my audiobooks. I've been listening to Building a Story Brand,
Mm-hmm.
and that one's really good for anyone that has a business or wants to know how to reach your customers in a better way.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to that right now. But some of my favorite books, let me actually pull this up because I have a lot of favorites. Um, let me see. So the book Influence is really good,
Yeah.
talking
Good one.
about persuasion. You Are a Badass is a classic. Designing Your Life, How to Talk to Anybody, or How to Talk to Anyone. You Are a Badass. Compound Effect. and The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. That was
Yeah.
actually one of the book that I used to hate books until I read that book, and I was like, you know what, this is really good. So those are some of my picks.
Yeah, yeah, and as a successful entrepreneur, you have to feed your mind. You have to mentally stimulate it to continue to grow about something in your field or business in general. And you show that quite well. So really glad you shared. Those are classic. Those are great picks on your list. I'm glad you listed those. Tell us, Tiffany, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you?
Yes, the listeners can connect with me on my Instagram at Shezza Socks, Shezza Socks, Shezza Socks, or on my personal Instagram, Tiffany Scarlett, TiffanyScarlet.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. It's been such a joy having you on today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I had lots of fun, so appreciate the time.
Of course.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.